As far as I can remember, my parents' marriage was not a happy one and was full of discord. The problems between them gradually accumulated and eventually led to the breakup of their marriage. Later, my father met a woman and formed a new relationship with her. Soon they were married. At the very beginning, my stepmother treated me well. She acted kindly toward me, which gave me some comfort. However, with the birth of my brother, I gradually felt a change in my stepmother's attitude toward me. She began to treat me more and more coldly and harshly. She focused more on taking care of my brother, and I began to feel neglected and rejected. This change made me feel very helpless. My father was often working in another city and I often had to face this unfriendly atmosphere alone. I felt that I had become redundant in the family and that no one really seemed to care about me. Sometimes, I would feel lonely and frustrated, not knowing how to cope with such a situation. I longed for the love and support of my family. This was a psychological torture for me. When I was 9 years old, an incredible event happened that changed my life. That day, I became a victim of my stepmother's cruel behavior. At that time, I was playing outside with my younger brother. Suddenly, my brother tripped and fell on an uneven surface. When I reached his side, I saw him sitting on the ground with one hand holding his knee. His face wore a painful expression. I noticed a small cut on his hand, and bright red blood dripped down onto his palm. Although the wound was not serious, the sight of the blood made me feel worried. When I got home, my stepmother was very angry. She struck me wildly with a wooden stick. I dodged helplessly, but eventually I was knocked to the ground. My breathing stopped and I felt my consciousness fading. I was rushed to the nearest hospital where doctors immediately took emergency measures to try to get my heart beating again. In that room, time seemed to take an infinite amount of time. Despite the doctor's best efforts, my heart stopped beating again after a brief period of recovery. At that point, the doctors had to face reality and pronounced me dead. I stood by during the whole process and watched it all happen. At the moment my heart stopped beating, I felt a strange sense of peace and relief. All the pain and fear seemed to leave me. And I just felt a relief like I had never felt before. My life before felt like I was in hell. I had been forced to endure many cruelties and injustices. I was once forced to eat food off the ground. This inhumane treatment made me feel humiliated and helpless. I did not understand why my stepmother treated me so badly. Another time, my stepmother burned my right hand with a cigarette, leaving me with a permanent scar. At that moment, I felt endless pain and fear. There were many other similar incidents, each of which caused me physical and mental harm. I do not want to recall these experiences because they left me feeling fearful and desperate. When I left my body, I felt relief. The pain and suffering left me. Suddenly, I saw my father, who was standing in the hallway of the hospital. As I got closer, I noticed that my father and a doctor were arguing violently. I couldn't make out what they were arguing about. I tried to get closer to them, trying to figure out what was going on. Just then, I heard a voice. The voice asked me, "Are you ready?" I was confused and didn't know what it was referring to. I replied, "Ready for what? Who are you?" I was curious and confused, not understanding why this voice was asking these questions. Then the voice went on to say that most people call him an angel or a guide. A man suddenly appeared in front of me, and he stood silently before me. I felt a holy atmosphere surrounding him, causing me to feel an involuntary sense of awe. Curiously, I asked, "Don't all angels have wings?" why don't you have them?" The man smiled and replied, "Who says angels must have wings?" His voice was gentle but firm. He took me by the hand and led me out of the hospital. We came to a completely new environment. I was very surprised by this place. We were standing at the base of a huge plant, which was tall and magnificent. The leaves of the plant were constantly swaying, as if to welcome us. The leaves were golden and they shone brightly, giving the whole environment a mysterious and serene atmosphere. Not far from us, I saw some wonderful creatures. They were slender and taller than humans. Their faces were narrow, with elegant and delicate lines. They swam freely in the water. These creatures gave off a mysterious glow. We continued deeper and found more peculiar creatures. These creatures looked a little less evolved. They surrounded us. The colors on them were so peculiar that it was hard to describe them in words. This place was not illuminated by sunlight. However, these creatures seem to have found their way to survive in the darkness. They make a peculiar sound. They sing with these beautiful, high-pitched voices that travel through the water. I could hear the songs coming from other similar creatures in the distance, and these voices intertwined. Led by these creatures, we arrived at their home. The caves formed a complex underwater network. In the corners of the caves reside many tiny life forms. They grow in hard shells. They are slender and transparent, and they blend in with the caves to create a fantastical scene. In addition to tiny life forms, some caves are inhabited by huge and ancient creatures. They grow huge shells. These creatures move through the caves at a slow pace and they feed on the plants in the water. The angel reminded me that it was time to leave. Led by the angel, I came into the presence of God. I stood there and felt an intense love. This love was so pure that it surpassed any feeling I had ever experienced. God embraced me, and his arms were filled with endless love. He told me that he already knew the pain I had experienced before. I asked God why he had not prevented the violence from happening, why he had not intervened in the actions that were hurting me. He didn't answer my question directly. He held me tighter. His embrace conveyed endless comfort and solace, a feeling that I had always longed for inside. His love wrapped around me and it was unconditional. In his embrace, I no longer had to endure pain because his love made me feel truly relieved. I know that in his love, I will never feel alone or helpless again. God said to me, "I know you want to stay here, away from pain and suffering, but you can't stay in this place just yet." He explained to me that I must return to the real world because my life is not over yet. There are still many experiences and missions waiting for me. I felt frustrated and helpless. I told God that I was afraid to go back, afraid of being hurt and tortured again. God assured me that he would always be with me. I began to cry sadly because leaving God's arms made me feel lost and afraid. God gave me one last hug and his love was close to me. His promise gave me the courage and strength to face the challenges ahead. With God's comfort, I gradually calmed down. The angel took my hand and led me back to the real world. We walked through the wall and came to the hospital room. I saw the doctors still trying to save my life. I saw my father standing anxiously in the hallway, his eyes full of worry and helplessness. The angel nodded to me, signaling me to be strong. I understood that I could no longer run away from reality. I had to get back into my body and face the challenges of life. The angel held my hand, and his presence made me feel very much at ease. I closed my eyes and slowly re-entered my body. When I opened my eyes, a group of doctors surrounded me. They were surprised to see my eyes open and shouted, "He's awake." I felt the pulse of life beating again. I knew that God had given me a second life. During my recovery, a female police officer came to my room. The female officer told me that the doctor had reported what had happened to me to the police. I was both thankful and scared to hear this news. I didn't know what was going to happen next. The female officer sat on the edge of the bed and listened patiently to what had happened to me. I described to her the abuse my stepmother had inflicted on me. Then my stepmother was put in jail. Some time later, I received a letter from my stepmother. In the letter, she sincerely apologized to me, expressing her remorse and guilt. She admitted her mistake and expressed her hope that I could forgive her. However, I can't forgive her now. The psychological damage she has inflicted on me over the years is too deep and will take time to heal. Forgiving her is a long and complicated process. It requires me to truly come to terms with the hurt of the past and find inner peace. I needed more time to heal myself. My father also apologized to me sincerely. I understand my father's situation. I know he has been working hard to provide for us and has taken on a heavy load of responsibility and stress. He did not realize the extent of my stepmother's abuse. I didn't blame my father because I knew he had been hurt too. He felt guilty for his negligence. After I recovered, I decided to live with my grandfather. He gave me the feeling of being loved. Although this love could not surpass the love of God, it still made me feel very content and happy. 27 years have passed since this happened and I have a family and children of my own. My children grew up in a warm family environment. I have tried to teach them respect and tolerance for others and to understand that violence is not the way to solve problems. I am grateful for God's guidance and the company of angels. They gave me courage and helped me to overcome difficulties and find my strength. I have learned how to pass on this love and incorporate it into my family and my life. I believe that everyone has the power to change their destiny and rebuild a happy life. Now, I feel a great sense of relief as I watch my own children grow up happily. I want to tell those of you who are enduring domestic violence that you are not alone. Do not let fear and shame plague you. You do not deserve any form of abuse. You have the right to live a healthy and free life. Domestic abuse is a crime and it should not be tolerated. Remember, you are not alone and you have the right to defend yourselves. Stand up and let the law be your shield and fight for your right to dignity and happiness. I was 32 years old when I went through the hardest time of my life. My mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, which was a huge shock to me. I vividly remember receiving a call from the doctor telling me of my mother's diagnosis. At that moment, I felt so helpless and desperate. Despite our best efforts to seek the best medical resources and treatment options, the deterioration was faster than we expected. Soon, I realized we had to prepare for the worst. I had to face the harsh reality that my mother might leave me. As a single mother, she faced many challenges and pressures in those days. Society had a hostile attitude towards single mothers, which made her feel isolated and excluded. When I was first born, my mother considered sending me to an orphanage, but she didn't give up on me after all. She decided to leave her old city and start a new life in another one. She found a job as a waitress and did her best so that I could grow up happily. As her only son, I took on the responsibility of arranging the funeral. The night after my mother died, I lay in bed crying the whole time. I was filled with loss and sadness. My mother was one of the most important people in my life, and her love for me could not be expressed in words. During that time, I had a lot to deal with. I tried to stay strong, but every night I would think of my mother in bed. The night became a painful time for me, and I didn't have a normal rest for almost a week. One night, I suddenly felt a sharp pain start in my chest. I got up from the bed. Every breath I took brought great discomfort, and I knew I had to find relief from the pain as soon as possible. I trudged toward the medicine cabinet, each step accompanied by unbearable pain. My trembling hands struggled to open the drawer. I searched through it hurriedly, hoping to find some medicine that would relieve the pain. However, the excruciating pain kept spreading. My vision began to blur, and the sounds around me slowly became quiet. Suddenly, I lost my balance and collapsed helplessly to the ground. In that instant, I was plunged into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I was floating above my body. I looked at the body lying there, still with a pained expression on my face. There seemed to be no longer any connection between me and that body, and I no longer felt its sensations. In that moment, I did not feel sad. It was like the clothes we wear, ready to be discarded when we don't need it. Suddenly, I noticed a tunnel appear above the living room. What happened next happened very fast, and I was moving forward in the tunnel at an amazing speed, and it kept getting faster. As time went on, I saw other tunnels begin to merge with mine, like ramps on a freeway. In these ramps, I noticed the presence of many beings similar to me. We all took the form of glowing white balls of light and moved in the same direction, toward a bright light in the distance. This sight struck and intrigued me. In that moment, I felt connected to other beings and that we were all pursuing the same goal. It was as if I had instantly learned a lot about the universe. I had no idea where this knowledge came from. I realized that the light was my destination, and it was my home. It was the place where I was created. All the emotions in me had disappeared. The anger and jealousy were gone. All I could feel was pure love. I entered into that light. There, I could not determine how long I stayed, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 500 years. Time lost its meaning in that place. I could feel millions of other balls of light experiencing similar things with me. We did not communicate with each other verbally, but understood and connected with each other in a way that transcended words. Just without any warning, I was suddenly pulled back. I appeared in a spacious white room. It was filled with a pure energy. I did not see any doors, windows, or ceilings. This room had no clear beginning or end, making it impossible for me to distinguish its boundaries. In this room, time lost its meaning. It was an infinite space, without the limits of time and space. In this room, I no longer feel hungry or thirsty. There seems to be no material need here. I still longed in my heart to return to that light. Suddenly, an angel appeared in front of me. He was almost as tall as a 2-story building. He was wearing a pure white robe with delicate embroidery on it. He was wearing a magnificent golden belt around his waist, which shone with a divine light. The angel's wings shone with a 7-colored light. His wings flapped gently as if he possessed infinite power. The angel looked at me with a smile and said, "You are here again." I was very surprised to hear this question and did not understand what he meant. I asked, "What do you mean when you say I am here again?" The angel's smile was more gentle, and he explained that in the past, you had come here before. That time, you chose to return to Earth. Now, you are back in this place again. The angel's words awakened a memory deep inside me. I had once signed a contract with God. It contained a record of my mission and purpose on earth. I asked the angel, if I had been here before, why would I choose to go back? The angel smiled and replied that you have free will and no soul is forced to leave here, so I cannot tell you the reason you left before. The angel then handed me the contract. I read the contents of the contract carefully. I knew that I had many goals left to accomplish. I knew that I had to return to Earth to complete my mission. Before I left, I asked the angel if he could let me see my mother. The angel looked at me with some confusion and then said, I have not seen your mother in this place. I said to the angel that my mother was a very kind person who passed away 7 days ago and she did not deserve to go to hell. After listening to me, the angel said, I understand, I will take you to a special place where the newly arrived souls are gathered. They are waiting there to enter heaven. The angel guided me into a peaceful and warm place. There was no concept of time here. Only eternal existence and pure energy. A soft light pervaded this place. Many balls of light floated in the air, and they shimmered with shimmering light. Each ball of light emits a unique energy. There are no boundaries or restrictions here. It is the middle ground connected to the house of light. Although there is no sensory experience of the material world, in this special place I am able to directly feel the emotions and thoughts of each soul. It was a spiritual communication, a way that transcended words. Suddenly, I felt my mother's soul. Her presence gave me immense comfort and warmth. Our souls were intertwined. Despite the absence of physical presence, I could feel her love for me. We spent precious moments there, reminiscing about the past and sharing our inner feelings. Although the parting was still painful, I knew that in this special place, my mother no longer suffered from pain and illness. The re-encounter with my mother gave me an overwhelming sense of happiness and satisfaction. I know that I must return to Earth to complete my mission. My mother's love would be my motivation to move forward until we were together again. A powerful energy was injected into my soul. I felt my pulse begin to beat regularly and blood flow through my veins. Slowly, my consciousness reunited with my body. I felt every nerve, every muscle reconnecting with my soul. I reconnected with this material world. I felt the gravity of the earth once again. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor, surrounded by familiar rooms and furniture. Upon entering my body, I felt very uncomfortable, as if I were wearing a dress that was on the small side. Although the physical pain had disappeared, my heart was filled with sadness. I hoped my mother would continue to live and that I would be able to join her again. I longed for that bright home. This longing and loss caused me to sink into a melancholy like never before. I could not eat properly, and food lost their flavor. I could not sleep. And the nights became long and lonely. My moods fluctuated and I was unable to concentrate on my daily tasks. I'm not sure how long this state lasted, but I know it gradually waned. I began to accept reality. Although the grief was still there, it would not overwhelm me, but would become a part of my growth. I gradually regained my appetite, my sleep, and my rhythm in life again. I told a few friends about my experience. One friend thought it was just a dream and not worth much attention. Another friend thought I was hallucinating from the impact on my head when I fell. However, one friend gave a different perspective, saying that it could have been a near-death experience. Inspired by this friend, I started searching the internet for articles and information about near-death experiences. I read many stories about near-death experiences. Some of the stories were so similar to what I had experienced that it made me believe what I was seeing was real. This discovery was comforting to me because it meant that my mother had gone to a very perfect place. She has found eternal happiness there and is no longer plagued by sickness and worry. I know that she continues to exist in the world of light and that her soul is liberated. This belief gives me the strength and comfort to know that my mother has not really left me and that she is still with me. I believe that her love will always guide and accompany me. Although some people have different opinions about my experience, I have found my own answer, and that answer gives me inner peace and determination. I would like to pass on this belief to others so that they too can feel the presence of light and hope. In communicating with the angels, I was also taken back to a slice of my past life. I saw the heartwarming moments of my childhood with my mother, who nurtured me with endless love and care as I grew up. I saw the efforts and frustrations of my youthful years. These memories are so precious and real.